Welcome to Curious Part 3. I'm Laura, and we have been asking some of the big questions about faith. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, then you've missed us talking about the missing piece of life, and if God is real, then what's he really like? I'd really encourage you to go back and to watch those if you've not already seen them. But for today, have you ever met someone who didn't live up to the hype? I remember as a teenager being a big fan of a certain band, and I got the chance to meet them backstage at this concert. And one of the members of the band was actually really rude to me. And after that, I never understood what the big deal was about this band after they've been so horrible. And so today we are asking, what is the big deal about Jesus? However, unlike my experience, I am confident that you will begin to see that Jesus is well worth your time. And maybe even more than that. So let's join Leon Evans for some more curious content.
A writer called Philip Yancey once wrote this: "You can tell the size of a ship by the huge wake it leaves behind." I mean, think of some of the people who've left a huge wake in the world behind them. Martin Luther King, Churchill, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Pele. Actually, Pele, the footballer, he once said this: "Wherever you go in the world, there are 3 icons that everyone knows: Jesus Christ, Pele, and Coca-Cola." Actually, I want to suggest Jesus Christ is head and shoulders above every other person who's ever walked on planet Earth. Let me prove it. What year is it? Yep, that's right. We tell the time based on when this guy was born. Millions of people wear crosses which were symbols of torture and death. We have Christmas, we have Easter. And then look at the impact that this man and his followers have had on the planet. Literature, architecture, science, medicine, universities, music, arts, the list goes on and on. But what's really extraordinary is the facts about this one man. You see, he was born in an obscure village to a peasant family. He never traveled further than 200 miles from his home, wrote no books, only had 3 years on the stage really, died a horrific death, crucified between 2 criminals while the executioners gambled for his clothes. Then he was laid to rest in a borrowed tomb. Yet 2,000 years later, his life, teaching, message and mission still fascinate millions of people. He's a really big deal. Jesus himself asked his followers a question, and it's such an important question. And it's this: who do you say I am? See, the challenge with Jesus, I think, is not so much the life that we know, it's the beginning and the end of his life, because that's where the supernatural dynamics come in, and we'll get to that. But you see, here's the thing. People have an image of Jesus and can't fit God into it, or people have an image of God and can't fit Jesus into it. Who do others say Jesus was? Buddhism teaches that Jesus was not God, but an enlightened man like Buddha. Hinduism teaches that Jesus was the incarnation of a God, just like Krishna. Islam teaches that Jesus was a man and a prophet, but inferior to Muhammad. Jehovah's Witnesses say that Jesus was like an archangel, a created being that became a man. And Scientology teaches that Jesus was an implant forced on Thetan about 1 million years ago. People have all kinds of views about who Jesus was. But you see, none of these views are based in any kind of history or fact. So what do we know? What do we know? Well, to help answer that question, let's ask a few other questions first. What about this one? Did he actually exist? Or is Jesus a myth, a fairy tale, or a legend? Here's the thing, and I can answer this really quickly. No sensible historian believes that anymore. In fact, there's more historical evidence for Jesus Christ and the life of Jesus than there is for Julius Caesar landing on the shores of Britain. So what did he look like? If you've seen some pictures, you might think that he looked like someone from an ABBA tribute band. Well, he definitely didn't look like that. Was he tall, dark and handsome? Well, we know definitely that he was dark, because that's where he came from in the world, in the Middle East. But other than that, we don't really know what he looked like. Did he have a family? Actually, yes, he did. And one of his brothers was James, who was very skeptical about his brother being the Son of God, okay? And you'd have to be, wouldn't you? I mean, what would your brother have to do to convince you, that you were the Son of God? I mean, what would he have to do? But that's evidence there, right there for me, that his own brother who was skeptical became a believer, that his brother was actually the Son of God. Jesus is a big deal. Then what did Jesus say about himself? This is where it gets really spicy. He ruffled feathers because he claimed to the title I am, which is a Jewish phrase that literally means God. It was saying that I am God on the earth. And he claimed to do things that only God could do. This is where we're faced with a choice, not an emotional one, but a rational one, because this was almost scandalous. Is this just a man or is he more than a man? C.S. Lewis, that famous writer, articulates the choice better than most when he said, and I'm paraphrasing this, okay, that either Jesus was a liar, a lunatic, or he was Lord. In other words, he was mad, bad, or God. Just a good man or a good teacher, I'm sorry, but he was much more than that. So what did Jesus not just say about himself, but what did Jesus show about himself? This is where I think Jesus is such a big deal. Not just the amazing words that are still woven into the fabric of our society, but the way he lived his life, the strength that he showed, the physical strength, the mental, the emotional. But not only that, the sensitivity, the compassion for people. Working class men wanted to hang around with him. Young children felt comfortable in his presence, and women felt valued and affirmed. All of this was countercultural. Just an incredible man. Why did he come to planet Earth? Well, this is the great risk of love. This is what we talked about in the last session, the story of the lovesick father, who when he saw his son coming home, he ran towards him. This is why Jesus came, because God the Father said, I don't want to just speak about my love, I want to show my love. And so he sent himself in the form of Jesus. Jesus said, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. Why Jesus is such a big deal is because he is the bridge over which we cross to know God for ourselves. There's a gap between us and God, and it can't be filled by anything we can do. It can only be filled by him. And we get to walk across that bridge to God. Then we experience the lovesick Father we spoke about before. And then the sense, meaning, purpose, resource, and peace that we spoke about in session 1. When Jesus was born, it seemed no big deal. When Jesus died, to many, it was no big deal. But history proves, and millions of people's lives have proved, Jesus was and is a really big deal. Curious? I hope you are.
Jesus is a really big deal. Not just in history, but he's a big deal for so many people today. And we've been hearing people's personal stories, and we're going to hear from a friend of ours called Governor B. He is a grime artist and someone whose life has been radically impacted by Jesus.
It feels like nothing else. Just being on that stage, looking out in the crowd, I feel at home. And I feel like for those 45 minutes or for that hour, I can totally be myself. And it's like from where I've come from to this is pretty surreal. Never ever imagined it. Stuff that I dreamed of. I grew up on an estate in East London. On that estate, the two most important things are money and respect. And because that's all you're seeing, it's what you want to strive towards. And I live my life to impress people. But because I was quite shy, I couldn't just go out there and have a big personality or have this kind of bravado. Music enabled me to be the popular person, the guy with good lyrics that's rapping and he's just sick and he'll say something and everyone will be going crazy and I remember that feeling that this is what I want to do, this feels good. Sometimes I look back and I think, I might have been one of the lucky ones. My life could have easily gone in a different direction. I struggled with the idea that you have to sell drugs to get money or you have to go and do an armed robbery to get money. And I think for me it was kind of like a tightrope, like it's impossible to stand still in the middle of a tightrope, and that was what I was trying to do. I wasn't really doing anything with my life, I was kind of drifting, and it wasn't until a friend of mine got stabbed that I realised that actually, regardless of whether you're fully involved or you're just on the fringes, it can happen to anyone. So on the one hand, I'm living my life in this way with these kind of people, but then on the other, every Sunday I'm at church with my parents. They tried as hard as they could to persuade me, but I think I just never really connected in the way that they wanted me to. someone that worked for the church came over to us one day. He just said to me, look, are you totally happy right now with where your life's at? And I had to look at myself and I said, you know what? No, I'm not. Even though I've been searching for money, girls, fame, clothes, cars, just don't satisfy me like I thought it would. And my response to that was to go and get more of that stuff. He said, look, that's not going to satisfy you either. So are you going to take this road, or are you going to carry on going down that road that doesn't satisfy you? I grew up seeing rappers on the TV look like they're making so much money and they're so successful. And my answer to that was, I need to go and get some of the friends on the estate that get up to no good, because that's my closest shot at getting that kind of thing. And when I look back, I achieved absolutely nothing doing that. But when I became a Christian, I just realized that actually this Jesus guy is real, because I had a feeling that wasn't just there for a moment, but it stayed there forever. And that's a feeling that, you know what, no matter what I go through in life, someone's always there for me, and someone's always looking out for me, and he wants the best for me.
You can hear more of Governor B's music on Spotify and on Apple Music if you are interested. Now, that feeling that Jesus is always there and with you is something that you can have for yourself too. So stick with us for part 4, where we will be exploring how you can experience Jesus for yourself as we discuss life's great adventure. And we'll be asking the question, what difference does faith really make? You know, if you want to ask more specific questions about God, then we'd encourage you to think about our Alpha course, which is designed for exploring the Christian faith. You can sign up for that by texting LCC Alpha followed by your name to 60777. So that's it for part 3, and we will see you in part 4.